Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be saying goodbye. I am talking about the Candidates Tournament, an extremely exciting tournament. We only get to experience it once every 2 years, and the winner goes on to face the world champion in about 6 months' time. Javikir Sandarov already won the Open. He will face Gukesh in likely October, November 2026. But the spotlight today will be on the women. Vaishali, Bibisara Assaubayeva, and Drujiner, maybe Karyachkina, maybe Muzachuk. It is wide open, and it will all come down to the final round. I'll be covering it. Crazy. And I didn't put the winner on the thumbnail because it wasn't already predetermined. Yesterday, we kind of knew what was going to happen, so don't complain if the winner's not on the thumbnail, all right? Because you sometimes complain I'm spoiling. No spoilers. All right, absolutely no spoilers, even if you check some other form of social media. Now, I am starting with Sandarov very, very quickly because this game took 8 minutes to finish. Sandarov versus Wei Yi. It was a 4 nights game, and this game ended. If you look at their clock time, okay, this game was over in roughly a combined, 8 minutes and some 15 seconds, 16 seconds. These guys made $10 a second playing this chess game. I just want to, before we get into that, I thought this was funny. Like, before the round even started, it was over. Sandarov ends up winning the entire tournament with a very, decent performance of 10 out of 14 points. And so it comes down to some of these games. Deshmukh is in last place. A shocking second half for her. And she is taking on Bibisara, who has 7.5 points. Vaishali is taking on Lagno. Vaishali has 7.5 points. If either of them win and the other person loses, they're the champ. Now, if they draw or lose, everybody else could potentially catch them, and it will turn into a nightmare tiebreak situation. So Divya with the white pieces opens d4 knight f6 and plays this move g3. So a move where, you kind of force black into this peculiar decision. Like, what am I going to play here? Because white wants to go bishop g2 and e4. G3 is a very good move to play with the mind of your opponent, because if black plays d5, it's symmetry. I mean, it's just pure symmetry, and white will play a Catalan, and black is going to struggle to win. Bibisara spends 4 minutes on her second move, so clearly not anticipating this opening choice from Divya, and Divya is obviously trying to mess with the prep here a little bit. And Bibisara commits to this move c5 and then d6. And the structure resembles what's called a Benoni opening. But in the Benoni, white has already played c4. And then black plays e6, and then they trade, and that's how the game progresses. White never did that. And so from the opening, a4 does a very nice job controlling the b5 square, bishop g7, e4, and castles. And I mean, in general, if you're going to play this position, you probably need to play e6. That is the general idea. And it's actually a very, very rich position that you could play for a win. But Bibisara very quickly plays knight bd7. Like, doesn't play e6, and then plays rook b8. And before white even develops the knight, she controls b5 completely, so you're never going to get that pawn break. And if black plays e6 now, I mean, probably it's too late, because you'll take on d6. So this knight is out of place. The rook is now out of place. And from the opening, it seemed like Bibisara kind of ran like headfirst into a position where, even though to play for a win with black at this level, you have to take risk, and you have to sometimes stumble into something unorthodox and a little bad. And that's what we have in front of us. a6 played, knight c3, queen c7. And yeah, I mean, the position was looking very tense and potentially quite rich with ideas, and then Divya just did this and moved her knight, and now it's not clear at all how black is supposed to make progress. This is just about the worst thing that you can do to somebody who, with a win, wins the tournament, and with a draw needs to wait for the other game to finish. And here, black can no longer play b5, and if black can't play b5, black doesn't have a single pawn break in the position. The only hope black has is to put that knight on d4, which is not possible in the slightest. Maybe with black here, you can play knight e8, knight d6, and establish a knight square like that. I mean, in a perfect world, you get rook a8, knight d7, and then knight b8, and then knight c6, and like now black has a completely dominant position. Rook a8 would not be the worst move. The problem is that white would not allow you to get the setup that you want. By the time that you're doing all this, white would target your c5 pawn, and then you would lose the c5 pawn. So that's not going to be possible here. So we have bishop d7 from Bibisara, queen e2, rook d8, bringing the rook to the middle, queen e3, a5, b6, just stabilizing. But overall, the position is looking very bad for black. Black has only one major idea, and it's moving the knight to d4, knight b5, queen e7. And right here, Divya kind of, I don't know if she could have won a pawn here. She obviously just didn't want to open up Bibisara's position, but then knight c6 would have been there, so that still would have been decent. You know, Bibisara's trying to put her bishop on this diagonal. So we get rook d1 takes, and in comes the crushing move, knight takes e4. And suddenly it's looking like Bibisara is back in the game, playing this for a win, because if you take the knight, bishop b7. But white's position is so good. I don't know. I mean, Divya spent 12 minutes on the next move, so obviously caught a little off guard by this concept. Or maybe she thought she had an idea and then, you know, it wasn't there. She goes bishop g2, and it is so shocking that white's position is so good, you could lose a pawn in the middle of the board, and your position is still good. Like, white's position is fantastic. The knight is now stabilized by the bishop, knight e5, and Bibisara blunders the candidates tournament with knight takes f2. It is a completely fatal error. She will lose the game now. Divya plays rook d7, queen f6, and the game is now over. Except rook b7 is played. White here had to play knight d6 with the idea that if you take my knight, I win, but it's actually more interesting than that. I win your queen. It's not about like winning some material. It's the fact that your bishop stops protecting your queen, and after takes, I win, I get in, and I take your knight, I take your bishop. So knight d6, if black played king g8, the only winning idea was knight df7, and there are some absolutely insane lines here, like rook f7, queen e5, bishop e5, rook b7. This at least is clear. But if knight d6 and like, I mean, there are some crazy knight moves here. Like the knight can get out of the way, and then this is going to be a check. There's also some crazy, like, for example, bishop takes g2, knight df7, king g8, knight h6, king h8. If you take this, the only winning move here. So to calculate that this was winning, there was this bishop g2 idea, and then the king would sandwich itself between these two pieces. Instead of that, Divya went here, and the ensuing endgame that we got is just a draw. It's a draw that ends with repetition. Bibisara ends the tournament with 8 points, and she will now watch this game. In fact, she was watching this game from like move 5. Like, there is footage of Bibisara at the board, sitting there, going like this. Like, looking at the other game, because you don't know. And I mean, there is something to be said for the opening there. You know, maybe she played an opening where the board just got too locked, right? And because of that, she was not able to generate as many winning chances, as she could. And yeah, Vaishali versus Lagno. Vaishali plays e4, and now with black here, you know, Lagno could try to play e5 and just, you know, play ultra solid, right? It's easier when the colors are flipped, when the person trying to hold is with white. She goes for Sicilian defense, and she plays the Dragon Sicilian. I mean, she plays an opening with black that nowadays is a surprise value opening. It is one of the like 5th tier Sicilians. You kind of play it like one time. Really, if you're going to play with black, you play Najdorf. That's the Rolls Royce. Then there's the Taimanov Sicilian with e6, the 4 knight Sicilian, the classical Sicilian, which is knight c6 here. You could play the accelerated dragon. The traditional dragon already plays the move d6. And in a lot of accelerated dragons, when the pawn stays there, black tries to play d5 immediately. Nowadays, the engine evaluates this position as simply good for white. Here, white can already begin g4 and stuff like this. Vaishali goes for a very clear idea. She plays a very modern idea. Black, as you see, plays d5. obviously, because black played d6, but now black plays d5. And there's a lot of lines here, like you can take on d5 immediately, knight d5, knight c6, bc, bishop d4. There's some lines after knight d5. It's a little too dangerous to grab this pawn. Queen c7 is well known. And if you take this rook, bishop f5, some problems here for white. So in general, the ideas are something like this. She does takes, and plays a very modern concept, bishop to c4. So that bishop cannot be taken. The bishop is also, because of the queen, and then the rook back up, and you're also attacking this. And also, you did manage to put your bishop on this diagonal, where it will be a potential target for an attack, but it will also defend the king and attack black. The best move here for black is the move e6. The second best move for black is rook to b8. Lagno spends 33 minutes on the next move. So obviously, not knowing the position to the fullest, and plays a very natural and human move, bishop to e6. The problem is that after pawn takes, now the way that white wins this pawn is very different. In the previous version, white won that pawn and black got massive counterplay. But here you're not getting that massive counterplay. The bishop is going to potentially be traded. The more pieces that white trades, white's just going to end up in an endgame. And it's not an endgame where you just have an extra pawn. You have a 3-on-1 pawn majority. White will win this endgame extremely easily just by pushing all the pawns forward. So black needs to create counterplay. Black goes here, she backs up, black avoids the queen trade, and king b1. And now, with black, I mean, you probably need to use your outside pawn. a5 actually is a move. a5 does not lose a pawn. It looks like it does, but there's rook a8, queen c5, you put the queen on a6. You know, you're going to continue to try to trade the queen. And yeah, there's a very good chance that something like this happens. And, you know, black is going to have to play against these two pawns. But this is all normal. And Lagno does this, but this allows white to just get this pawn wall. And this is a perfect position to play for a win in a candidates tournament in the last round. Like, she doesn't know what's going on in the Bibisara game. It's very messy. But if Vaishali wins, she's the candidates champion. And she will play Ju and Jun for the World Championship match. So there you go. a5. She plays bishop d4. Black goes here, bishop c3. I have no idea how Lagno is going to break through this defense. She's going to play a4. Typical idea. Now, Vaishali doesn't play the best move. She takes the pawn. I think she took the pawn because she was like, well, I'm up 2 pawns. So now I can't lose. B4 was also good. She goes here. Black goes here. And now b3. Now, b3, you will win this pawn back because of the pin. But white will very quickly bring a rook. You cannot sacrifice the rook. I mean, you can, but it's a terrible move. Because then, after queen b3, I have queen b2, even bishop b2. This looks scary, but there's just not enough material here. I mean, you just cannot attack me with a queen and a rook when I have a queen, a rook, and another rook, and a bishop playing defense. So this won't work. So Lagno, you know, makes all of the necessary improvements, brings the queen, the rook. She's going to bring the other rook in a moment here. There it is. And this is just about as good as black's position is going to get the entire game. Because you got everything you wanted, and you're still down a pawn. And now Vaishali's like, hey, what about me? I'm going to go attack your king. G4 didn't even need to be played, but it's a very tough position to play with white because you can never really... Like, if you take on this, you immediately get hit with rook a1 check. You activate the bishop through the x-ray vision. And if you take, this is mate. So it's a position that's very easy to sit on your couch and go, well, why is she not doing this? It's not that easy to play, all right? Not easy to play a dragon. We have takes. Black plays king h7. Vaishali plays rook d5. She's always looking to trade one of the rooks, maybe go rook d7, maybe attack the king at some point. So we have queen c6, bishop back to b2, and now rook a2. Lagno basically is like, I don't know what else to do with my position. I got everything set up. What do? I'm going to go rook a2. Potential ideas to sacrifice material here. If only this pawn wasn't there and the bishop was alive. And suddenly Vaishali goes here. An absolutely vicious counterpunch across the board. I saw it live. Really, it's on camera. She punched Lagno straight in the nose. I mean, it was mind-blowing. You should have seen it. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you really should. Maybe it's AI. I don't know. Queen b6. So the idea with g5 was to play queen h4 and rook d8. Now we have queen h4 check. She repeats the position just one time. And Lagno could repeat, but she probably sensed there was a bit of danger. And she rolled the dice here, and it wasn't a number that looked good. It's rook a4. The idea of rook a4 was to prevent queen h4 from coming. But she weakened the back rank beyond repair, and there is a move here that seals the game for white. It's a nice move. It's a move that's kind of a ghost move because it looks like white can't move the pawns. He can't take because of queen b2 mate. The move is check, and Vaishali spends almost nearly all her remaining time gathering her emotions and plays c4. Explosive. This is mate. The rook is hanging if the queen tries to play any sort of defense. If the rook were to go this way, you would take that rook. So every piece in black's position is now in dire straits. If that move wasn't played, the game would have went on. I mean, black is not yet mated. Maybe she would have had to back up and try to survive that position. And Vaishali plays c4. Lagno has to just sacrifice all her material. That's mate. She doesn't blunder it. Few more moves to just make sure the position is secure. And in this very moment, 48th move for white, Caruana Lagno resigned to Vaishali Ramesh Babu, and Vaishali is the 2026 Candidates Champ with 8.5 out of 14, which is nuts, because as we are about to see amongst the gentlemen in the open group, 8.5 only got second place. And we are going to look at that in a moment. So there were other games that went on. Musachuk and Drujiner ended in a draw. It was an Alpin Sicilian. Black needed to win this game. And she, by the way, I think gave away 2 half points. Remember the 2 positions that she could have drawn, but she tried to play for a win? You have to credit the fighting spirit. But in the candidates, every half a point matters. And yeah, here not too much happened. It was sort of a draw throughout. And Garyachkina scored a last round win. Garyachkina ended the tournament really well against Tan Zhongyi. Tan Zhongyi was trying to play the role of spoiler. Yeah, I can focus on these games, a little bit deeper. You sacrifice the knight here at the end to queen the pawn. Garyachkina ends with 7.5. She ends with 3 wins in her last 5 games, but 7.5 is not good enough. And your standings are as follows: 8.5, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7. A lot of people had pretty decent tournaments, but unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever you're rooting for, only one winner. 8.5. She is the champion of the candidates, and she will play Ju in June. Last year, Vaishali lost 4 games in a row in the candidates and then won 5. And this year, she did very well. She did very, very well. She ended on +3, and that means you won 3 more games than you lost. And now we will go look at some games before we end today's recap and we say goodbye. Fabiano Caruana with the black pieces against Esipenko. Esipenko just kind of free-rolling it, playing some fun chess. There's the Najdorf Sicilian. Fabi goes Dragendorf. Hikaru played like this as well earlier in the event. Rook c8, knight e5. And Fabiano Caruana, the vintage Sicilian sacrifice. Rook taking a knight on c3. I mean, this is like a tournament that you can play at the World Youth Championship when you're 10 years old. It's something you can play in a 25, 26, 2700 elo. It's such a satisfying sacrifice. If white takes with the queen, knight e4 is a bludgeoning ready to happen. And if you take with the pawn, well, your king's weak for the remainder of the game. And Fabiano here, Esipenko came after him. Fabiano clearly in control, activated his bishop. Look at him not even taking the rook, just pressuring here. Fabi attacks with the queenside pawn. The knight ends up having to go to a1. Absolute misery. This king has a lot of open air, living in a little villa. Sun is coming in. Warm wind is coming in. He can go out to the pool. And yes, while the bad guys are arriving over here with their loaded weapons, he will just escape through the tunnel. And that's going to be that. Going to enjoy some olive oil, a little bit of tomato on some, delicious bread. And yeah, speaking, and he is Italian. So, I mean, really, that's a fitting reference. Esipenko gets very close, but Fabi brings all his pieces. Queen d7, queen f5, and the king does run away to e6, and that's it. Queen f7 back. And in this position, with the queen hanging, with knight c4 arriving for a checkmate, by the way, and the worst knight of all time on a1, Fabiano Caruana gets a win, ends his tournament. Esipenko loses, finishes in last place in the candidates. We will take a look at the final score. I did say he would likely be towards the bottom. I did think he might do a little better than Bluebaum, but Bluebaum's style proved a little bit too solid throughout the event. Speaking of the guy whose style was a little bit too solid throughout the event, he's playing Anish Giri, and I have never seen Matthias Bluebaum play a chess game like this. This is last round Bluebaum. This is a little bit too much wine the night before Bluebaum. This is maybe a little bit too much beer the night before. Look at Bluebaum playing knight to g5. Knight to g5 looks like, Maybe he's going to bring back the knight and trade it. That's typical Bluebaum. Now, this is the new Bluebaum. Look at this. This is the Trojan horse Bluebaum. This is the fishing pole Bluebaum. This is leaving a piece hanging on g5 and trying to checkmate Anish. Giri Bluebaum plays a3, plays bishop back to a2. Here he can transfer pieces to, and the second the position is a little spicy, he goes here, and he misses a really nice counterattack here from Anish Giri. Bluebaum here spent 42 minutes on this move, and in case it's not clear, I'm just trying to say Bluebaum as many times as possible before I have to stop covering him for quite some time. Not because I don't like him, but because he's going to probably not play some tournaments for a little while. He spent 42 minutes on this move. That's too much time to spend on a good move. Nobody plays a good move after thinking for 40 minutes, or even like 25. Just look at Sandarov. He goes long castle, and his idea was that when Anish plays b4 attacking him, he's going to counter him with d5, b4, d5 on the board. The idea was after pawn takes, knight takes, you can't take because queen h7 is there. And Anish Giri was like, oh, you want to just leave your knight hanging here? How about this for a Trojan horse? Knight! Nope, sorry, that was extremely anticlimactic. Knight to d4. Knight d4 is really disgusting because you attack the queen and you force me to take it with the pawn, and that's what happens. And now I take you, and if you take back, I simply take on d5, and you have no attack ever again. So we will be trading all your pieces. This knight's just going to stand there looking stupid. Knight d4, Bluebaum missed like 2 or 3 of these moves during the Vaikanze tournament. He really hadn't blundered in this event, Bluebaum. Yeah, I mean, he was very, very solid. He didn't really make too many big mistakes. But knight d4 is a huge oversight, and Anish clears down the position. Bluebaum gets a little bit of counterplay, but simply not enough. Anish Giri with an extra bishop, and I think he is more than capable of winning the game. He will not be drawing this. Rook takes g3, rook f1, bishop g3. Anish Giri ends the tournament on 8.5 out of 14. Like, that's a very good candidate's performance. It's just very unlucky. One guy decided to destroy everybody else. And this game, Prague, Hikaru, 100% accuracy by these boys. This was the second game that could have concluded quickly. Hikaru once again trotted out the h6 Queen's Gambit decline. Boys rattled off, Hikaru rattled off a bunch of opening preparation. He sacrificed the queen. It was cool, but I think he knew all of this already from before. And after some 30 moves, we were in a rook and bishop endgame, and the boys ended the game in a draw. Hikaru, I think, really barely had to think. He played like 20 moves of prep. Prague tried something. Prague, another really tough tournament for him. Last year, he was on fire. This year, yeah, rough. Totally lost the form that he had at the beginning of 2025 and really dominant stretch. Yeah, Hikaru, obviously, not the candidates that he wanted. This probably was his last candidates. I don't know what's going to happen between now and 2028. I don't know if they're going to change the rating rules. Like, if he just sits at 27.95 and tries to qualify that way, I don't know if that's going to be possible. I don't know if they're going to prevent that from happening. But there's a lot of young, hungry guys, clearly, like the Sandarovs of the world. There's the Arigaisis. Nojerbek is there. He hasn't played a candidates yet. Keimer. So, yeah, tough. I mean, I thought Hikaru would repeat the magic from 2024. All we knew was that he hadn't played as many top-level tournaments, but we didn't know what effect that would have, or being a parent would have, or being like 40, really. I mean, he's almost 40 years old. Like, that's... And all of it, yeah, all of it had an impact. So, not the tournament that he wanted. Sandarov wins 10 points. Giri 8.5. Fabi 7.5. Fabi second and third place in the candidates. Perhaps the biggest challenge for a chess fan, like the biggest struggle of a chess fan, is being a Fabiano Caruana fan, because it's a decade now of what ifs. Wei honestly did all right. He broke even. I kind of said he would maybe finish middle of the pack. Bluebaum 6 points. Prague 6 points is a bit shocking. And Esipenko 4.5. I think Esipenko realized in the first half, like, oh my god, this is really, really hard. And that was that. I think he racked up a lot more losses in the second half than he needed to. Prague 7th place. I think back-to-back tying for 7th place. Rough for him. He's going to have to make some changes. This might be the one and only candidates tournament Matthias Bluebaum ever plays. So we will see. Might be the last one that Hikaru plays. I imagine Fabi will make it to the next one, but we will see. And, yeah. Congratulations to Sandarov. We almost completed the beautiful love story of him and Bibisara both winning the candidates, but Vaishali will play Ju and June. Sandarov will play against Gukesh. There are 2 Indians representing in the World Championships. Really incredible. And frankly, all of it is just over there. It's just... it's on that side of the world. You got Uzbekistan, you got India, and you have China representing. So, and then you got Norway, right? You got the Norwegian guy just sitting around doing whatever and just winning tournaments whenever he decides to play. That's all I have for you today. I appreciate all of the fun times you've had in the comment section over the last recaps. We will get back to regularly scheduled programming on this channel. The slow run will be back. Historical content, you know, stalking Magnus wherever he's playing in a tournament and covering it, whether he likes it or not. Yeah, that's what we got. Appreciate you all. You know where to pre-order my second book. There might still be like 20 signed copies left. I don't know, but I've been talking about it throughout these recaps. That's all. Get out of here.